Under WSTAT 971.17.4E to review the conditional release plan that was prepared for Ms. Geyser for her conditional release. Just by way of history, the recent history, on October 11th of 24, there was a petition for conditional release filed for Ms. Geyser. Judge Borden held an evidentiary hearing on January 9th of this year and granted the petition for conditional release, concluding, for the reasons stating in the record, that the release of the defendant would not pose a risk of bodily harm to her or others. And Judge Borden directed the DHS complete a release plan within 60 days in accordance with the appropriate statutes. On February 27th of this year, the DHS filed a statement of probable cause and a petition for revocation of conditional release. On March 6th, the court had an evidentiary hearing on the petition for revocation. After taking testimony, denied the petitions for the reasons stated on the record. And Judge Borden again ordered the DHS prepare a conditional release plan and file it with the court. On April 14th, the DHS filed the conditional release plan. There were some issues with it that were discovered at the April 28th hearing, but in particular regarding the location of where Ms. Geyser was going to be placed under the plan. Judge Borden also directed there were certain things he would like to have judicial oversight of. And in the plan that was submitted to me after a May 27th request for additional time to prepare an amended revised plan, those issues were not addressed. There was nothing talking about court supervision, or it did not also include the standard DHS conditions and some other conditions that were modified and appeared in the earlier plan for conditional release. Well, I was set to discuss those issues in great detail this morning. I received addendum this morning which addressed my concerns, at least in those regards. And in particular, it includes the DHS standard conditions of release, along with some customs conditions for Ms. Geyser that I believe should be incorporated into the plan. I also received an addendum to the confidential release plan, and that addendum indicates that all changes relative to GPS monitoring, to GPS on our placement, are subject to review of the court. I'm going to open the plan up to comment generally. I can tell you I would change that language to say all changes relative to GS monitoring and or placement require court approval, because I want to be on the front end of that as opposed to some kind of later review of the process. I assume there's any objection from state or defense on that?
No objection.
Okay. And then with that, those were my thoughts, but I welcome both the state and the defense's opinion of the plan. And I think we confirmed before the hearing started that both sides have had a chance to review the additional materials that were submitted recently. Is that correct?
That is correct, Judge.
Yes, Judge.
Ms. Nicolai?
I have had a chance to review the plan as well as the additional materials, and I believe that it does address certainly the concerns that were raised at the last hearing that we had, given the location that was found and is proposed in the confidential plan. And so I don't have any specific comment to offer to you in terms of a victim impact statement or anything like that. And we are in compliance with victim rights. And certainly there are specific conditions contained in docket number 692 that are appropriate as well in terms of victim rights. I would agree with the court's change in docket number 691 in terms of court approval being required if at some point in time the team deemed it appropriate to remove the GPS, and if at some point in time the team deemed it appropriate to change Ms. Geyser's placement. And so I just want to make sure that those are two separate and distinct things. I think that that sentence could be read a couple different ways, that the word placement, we're referring to Ms. Geyser's physical residential placement, not the placement of a GPS device. That's how I read it, that the court would need to approve any change in her residential placement.
That's how I read it as well.
Okay.
I don't think there's any dispute from the defense on that, is there? It's two conditions, not one.
Right. I'm not reading it as the location of where the GPS
Where we
is
put the
on her
GPS
body.
on her body, okay. So, all right. So we understand that it's two different things, both require court approval. Anything else, Ms. Nicolai?
The only other concern that I had about potentially something that I was going to ask require court approval was in regard to medication monitoring services. However, I've had a chance to discuss that with DHS and I no longer have a concern about that because it is directly tied to her residential placement, and that monitoring will occur. And so if there was a change in placement, that would be addressed in the court. So I don't have a concern about that. And so those are really the only comments that I have about the plan.
Okay, Mr. Cotton?
I've discussed the plan with Ms. Geyser. She obviously has signed the rules, and they've been discussed with her, so we don't have anything else to add.
Okay, then it's my intent with the minor modifications we talked about to approve the plan. With the representative from DHS, please come up for a minute.
Judge, would it be okay if she just sits here?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. If it's okay with her.
Thank you.
And you are?
My name is Nicole Whitaker. I'm Forensic Program Supervisor at Wisconsin Community Services.
Excellent. And the plan is if I approve the plan as we described with the minor modifications, how soon do we think we can turn that around?
Yes, Your Honor. By the end of the week.
Okay. And we won't need a prior hearing. We'll just distribute it. I don't think this is that difficult, what we just discussed. And then is it still the plan on or about August 4th for the placement?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and nothing in this modification would delay or derail that?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, then subject to the addendum or the additions we discussed, which include the DHS conditions and specifically requiring court approval for any changes to GPS monitoring or the physical placement of the defendant, I approve the conditional release plan, subject to receipt of same. I would say if I don't have an objection within 3 days of receiving the modified plan, I'll enter an order approving. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Anything else I can do today?
I don't think so.
Yeah, right, I know. Okay, just from our perspective, I need the court just to enter a verbal order directing the Sheriff's Department to send Ms. Geyser back forthwith to the hospital, to the Winnebago facility.
So ordered.
And we'll monitor that, and if we need to submit a written order, we'll do that.
I think we've already taken care of it, so I think
Okay,
you're okay.
great. We just don't want her to sit in jail.
No, I agree, and I believe we've already arranged for that.
Okay?
Okay, so we're, just to confirm, we're gonna get the plan with modifications in the next 3 or 4 days?
That's correct.
And then, if no objection received within 3 days, I'm gonna enter an order approving it.
Great.
Okay, thank you all very much.
Thanks, Judge.
Have a good day.
All right, Lawrence? Yeah. Talk to you later, okay?